starting to wonder now. Like, there is a point, and even throughout the season, Jimmy Butler, our guy, but it seemed like he kind of held us hostage a little bit this year. Like, oh, I'm hurt. And he was probably hurt. I really do think he had the foot problem. But, he's out there with Neymar and Carlos Alcaraz, and then he's sick the next day, which had some of Heat Nation being like, all right, come on. But he always dangled that carrot.
That was nasty work. That was.
You need me. I'm playoff Jimmy. And you always said, okay, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be like that. It's kind of like being in that relationship, maybe not that great, but, there's going to be some parts of it that you like, and there's going to be good days. He always dangled that carrot. Always dangled the carrot. Playoff Jimmy, playoff Jimmy, playoff Jimmy, playoff Jimmy. Anytime you question Jimmy, playoff Jimmy, playoff Jimmy. And you say, okay. And this year, we almost guaranteed, not fully guaranteed, but almost guaranteed, there's not going to be any playoff Jimmy. Last night, there was no Jimmy Butler at all playing. He was in the building, but not playing. And the Heat looked good. Now, granted, it was against the Bulls. It's not against the Boston Celtics. We still have the series. But do you feel as though maybe you're a little less captive now? You feel a little more liberated if you're a Heat fan with this whole playoff Jimmy thing? Or at least now you're saying, all right, now we don't have to sit around and wait and bite our tongues and say, okay, but in the playoffs, we'll make a move. Do you feel a little bit, Vlad, and I know you're not a quote-unquote Heat fan, but do you feel as though some people in Heat Nation, I know I do, feel a little more liberated after last night's victory?
I mean, this is a weird year, bro.
I feel a little liberated.
It's not about liberation. I feel like this, if you're a Heat fan, the fact that Jimmy got hurt and you still made the playoffs, you still won the playing game.
And looked good at it, and once again against the Bulls.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you were like 6 games or 8 games above 500 or ahead of them, but you still had to play them. It depends. If they really put on they're gonna put in the effort, but if they really compete in the series against Boston and made it tough, then you can always say, man, if we had Jimmy and everybody's in that, that's a good point. Let's come like if they had Jimmy, this series could have gone a different way, the same way, because why? We saw what happened last year. And because of what happened last year and the way they played in that first half against Philadelphia, you would have thought that they can, a second magical run can happen again. But your main guy's hurt. So now, whatever you do, you have that. It's not an excuse, but you have a reason. 22 was hurt. If 22 was in, if 22, you would love your chances with 22 there. But Deuce is hurt. So you can't really say anything. So if Boston fans or Boston media want to talk, they can. But at least you had Tatum for 6 of the 7 games last year. Tatum got hurt in the game. You going into the series now knowing that you don't have 22 there. It's a different mission.
Well, last year, remember Tyler Hero, of course, gets hurt in the first game of the playoffs, doesn't really do anything in the playoffs at all, and that opened up a lot of trade speculation. What if the Heat do somewhat make a run? What if the Heat just play Boston very well?
Then the Heat have the same problem the New Orleans Pelicans have. They got a problem. Why can't their 2 best offensive players play well together during the playoffs? Well, and I'm not going to say, you know what? New Orleans is worse than Miami. I just don't. I don't think Miami is a problem. What I'm noticing now, and maybe this is something they got to do more. Tyler is showing that he can not only get his own shot, but get shots for others.
Yeah, he had that behind the back pass last night.
So he almost had a triple-double. So therefore, maybe more of the ball should be in Tyler's hands. But if the ball more in Tyler's hand, ball in Jimmy's hand, the person that really gets left out in the situation is Bam.
Who is supposed to be our captain?
Who is the captain? But now that Jimmy's hurt, you expect a little bit more from Bam as well. Like, this is supposed to be Bam and Tyler carrying the load.
Well, ESPN insider Adrian Wojnarowski yesterday kind of made some comments saying that this offseason could be very interesting for the Miami Heat. He says that there's going to probably be a lot of movement in the NBA, and some of these big all-star level players might want to come to Miami. And he says Miami may want to align their talent and their roster more with the younger guys like Bam Adebayo on Bam Adebayo's timeline. Which, once again, now you have to ask this question. Let's say, Vlad, let's keep it a buck a little early. Heat go into the series against Boston, get gentlemen swept, 5-1. And in the offseason, a big name star. I'm not going to name. I mean, we had Damian Lillard last year, but a big name, an all-star, somebody that, can do some things. Says, I want to come to the Heat. I want to be traded to the Heat. I'm demanding a trade. Ooh, you're going to have to give up something. What do you give up? Possibly. You want Bam. You want Jimmy. Now you really want Tyler. Is Tyler tradable now? Because Tyler's looking like someone you want to keep. There's no way, and I'm not even speculating, you're going to trade Jimmy Butler. Although Jimmy's got that 1 year.
But can you run it again for a 6 year?
That's
with the same three?
So who is the most expendable if, let's say, an all-star level player wants to come to Miami?
Well, it all depends on Riley, though, because Riley don't got time to be waiting on these young guys. He's all about the vet.
Right, and that's what people say, like, if we
So that's why Jimmy, I don't know if Jimmy goes, but even though, if you really look at it, Jimmy should be probably out of the three because he's older.
I know. Doesn't that sound crazy?
And I told you he's like 39 in Tibbs years.
Doesn't that sound crazy? He's got 1 year left on the contract, up for an extension. He's 34 years old. And the tread is on the tire. And now we're starting to see it a little more. If you're Pat Riley and you get a big name star, someone that's going to be great, you got to make some room money-wise. You got to make some room player-wise. And you can't trade him for peanuts. Out of the big three, who's the most expendable for the Miami Heat? Is it Bam Adebayo, who is young and been an all-star twice on Team USA?
No, Bam is probably not most expendable, but Bam is probably the most you can get for because of his 6'10", the way he plays defense.
And he's expanding his three-point shooting.
The way, just he can add more to his game. And he just plays both ends of the court.
And the way Tyler played last night, no, it's one game. It's the Bulls.
It's one game. But you know what? This is an important series.
He can go and say, look, when I'm the guy, look what I do.
When you're healthy.
Yeah, you got to be healthy too. Well, Jimmy, you got to be healthy.
Well, Jimmy only misses regular season.
Except for this postseason, which he's probably going to miss the whole entire thing.
Dude, this is not like, he landed wrong. That's all. There's nothing you can say about it. He landed wrong.
Who is? It's a question, I think. Like, I have heard a little bit of Heat Nation, not overwhelmed with happiness on Jimmy Butler with some of the stunts that he's pulled this year. And now that he's dangled playoff Jimmy in front of us, and be honest, it held us kind of hostage. Because all year long, when anything went wrong, we said, it'll be okay. Playoff Jimmy will show up. We're just waiting on playoff Jimmy. Just get into
Which is why I
told players you. Supposed to just get us in the tournament. That's all we kept saying. So anytime you and I got critical of things, the response was from Heat Nation, don't worry about it. Look what we did last year. Be quiet. Wait till the playoffs. Playoff Jimmy will show up. Tyler's going to be healthy this year. We'll be right back there. And now it's like, well, okay, you can't hold that over me anymore. You've lost that mind control, at least for now. But you can't get rid of Jimmy, can you? You can't get rid of Bam. Is it still Tyler Hero? Is this going to be another offseason we hear?
It all depends on what Tyler does now because everything's on him right now.
So if he balls out against Boston, win or lose, the word you want to hear, Vlad, run it back.
No, they can't run it back again.
Pat Riley don't rebuild. I was on the Joe Rose show this week, and we're like, well, so if we lose tonight to the Bulls, do we look at possibly retooling and rebuilding? No, Pat Riley doesn't have time to try to do a rebuild. So take that out. Man, it's weird. Who is your most valuable player? And I'm considering everything. Health. I don't want to say, well, if everybody's healthy, it's Jimmy. Health, age, future.
Here's the thing, right?
Your most valuable player.
These next 4 or how many games, right? You might be looking at the future of the Miami Heat. You got Jovic.
Yeah, who's played well.
He played well.
Especially this season for the whole
Jaquez Jr.,
who was great last night. He kind of hit a wall, but still he's great.
Tyler.
He's been great when he's played this year. And
Bam.
Night, he looked like a world beater.
And Bam.
Bam's been
Bam is Bam. He's a captain. It's going to be
He plays it on both ends.
So, yes, I think a starting 4 of that with a superstar who maybe a little bit younger.
I know. That's the thing. I don't know. And then your other option is, once again, run it back.